Hey, this is Notser, and today we are taking a look at a refinement build for American light cruisers. Since the aircraft carriers have shown up, defensive AA is not adequate enough to defend yourself. You have to, unfortunately, invest more in anti-air work for your commander in order to just survive. So that's what we are developing a strategy for and a commander build. It is on the screen. Everything's pretty typical module-wise. Why don't I use the AA mod in slot 3? Well, it's a piece of garbage. It doesn't do anything to actually increase your damage output towards carrier players that are actually good, so I don't care about it at all. And then as far as my commander skills are concerned, I have 3 level 4s. I have Concealment, IFHE, and Manual AA. So similar to something like the Daring or the Jutland, where IFHE is mandatory, I kind of feel like Manual AA and or Basic Firing Training is a mandatory skill to take for any light cruiser in the American branch that wants to feel like they actually can do something, because defensive AA is just not useful at all anymore. It's way too avoidable, and it doesn't offer any accuracy debuff to the enemy, so if they can easily avoid it and it doesn't actually interrupt their ability to attack you, well, you know, what's the point, right? So I haven't fully developed the strategy at this point, but at this stage of the video, which is about a week or two after this game, I will only ever use defensive AA against dive bombers. And the reason is because dive bombers are the only squadron who can consistently use 2, 3, 4 seconds of immunity to drop you. Attack rockets are, they're okay. The torpedoes, they're okay. But those dive bombers are the ones where you have to do the most amount of damage in the least amount of time. Otherwise, you won't be able to deal with them. Now, my teammates, obviously, we headed off towards A point and we captured it. The enemy, there was a couple that were attempting to come forward, but they thought better of it and they didn't end up going. One of the skills that I had to sacrifice in order to invest in Manual AA is Demolition Expert. Now, with IFHE, and without any other, buff or upgrade, I have 9% fire chance, normally 12, but I've invested enough to get it back up to 10. So I've got a couple signal flags to do that. And we're going to see, how good or bad the fire chance is this game. Do we notice not having Demolition Expert? It's 3 points. Obviously, IFHE takes away from it, but in this world where we have to defend ourselves, because seemingly no one else will from aircraft, I have to invest in something. And yeah, that's just the nature of the beast right now. You pretty much are forcing us to invest 4, 3, 4, or 7 points to defend ourselves base from air. And a lot of people, they don't have 19s. People barely have 10s. You want to know how tier 6s and tier 7s and tier 8s deal with aircraft carriers? They're dealing with them with basically 10 skill commanders that have concealment. They don't have any manual AA, they don't have any basic firing training because they don't have enough points. It just feels really weird to ask players to invest so much to fight against a target that may never ever attack them. It's one of those just most frustrating things about this. But, we'll see how this works out. How much are we actually sacrificing, right? That's what we're testing. So, C point is clearly ours. There's nobody left in this area. We've got to try and move to a flank where we can contribute more. Now, obviously, I've got my AA priority sector. It is set forward towards the incoming attack. It's really important that you guys make use of priority sector. I did a poll, and 20% of my viewers do not use the skill for 1 second. 20%. And this was, 300-400 people. That's a pretty significant amount of people who refuse to participate in a mechanic. Now, I don't blame you. The priority sector UI is honestly terrible, convoluted, inaccurate, and it does the worst sin of all. It blocks your screen from important information. So I get it. It's awful. But unfortunately, it's mandatory to defend yourself from some of these attacks. You just have to use it. And it's really unfortunate. Hopefully they improve it at some point, because honestly, I don't know that it could be any worse. I have had so many times where I'm actively maneuvering, I'm setting my priority sector, either port or starboard, and I'm engaged in a combat scenario, so I do it really fast, and oh, you didn't actually click on the sector that you wanted to assign. I don't see any feedback that I did this. I just have to enter into a screen that blocks my entire view to confirm. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But regardless of whether I like it or not, we're going to try and make it work. So there was an enemy DD that seemingly was on the southwest side of B point. There's also a Cleveland, which I would love to punish. Now, by firing openly, I am trying to verify the exact location of the enemy. There are nobody else seemingly that is in range to spot me other than unspotted DDs. So where could they possibly be? Well, they could be in the area that's in between my friendly ships at C point, my ship, and sort of the west side of B. There's also an enemy DD that was on the north side of B that could also be responsible for spotting me. But that's totally fine, and it doesn't seem like anyone wants to kill me, because no one's targeting me, and oh yes, friendly DD is able to spot the Minsk, is able to spot the Mahan, and we're just going to try and help out. He's obviously the most important target. I hope it goes without saying, so I'm going to try and lead him. Now the Cleveland, gun velocity, not ideal, so we have to give a little bit more lead than we would normally do, and ooh, the Alba was able to take him out. Better gun velocity than us. Enemy dive bombers are on the other side of my ship, attacking a friendly, so I'm going to try and switch it so that I can contribute, and of course, I'm using my defensive AA. I will always and forever use defensive AA on only dive bombers, because dive bombers consistently are the only things I'm afraid of, because they're quite literally the only squadron that can consistently avoid taking critical aircraft losses to something like the Cleveland. It has to happen, and if I'm not doing it, I'm pretty much assuming that no one else is going to do it on my team. That's how bad this feels at times. It just feels like, you know, it's not my problem, it's someone else's problem sort of situation. And I don't blame them. I mean, if I had to waste seemingly 4, 7, you know, however many points just to defend myself from a base attack, I'm not even doing it well, I would feel pretty worthless. But you know what's not worthless? Dealing with the T-61, who was keeping the Ranger spotted, and obviously friendlies on their team had easily the range to shoot. But this T-61, I guess he forgot that radar is a thing, and oops, he pops his smoke, he's right in range. This should easily be a kill. I also have my AA priority sector facing towards the attack rockets. He is going to set me on fire. That's just a given. But I'm going to try and survive it long enough that he loses his squadrons, and then I can reestablish a good angle against the incoming enemies. And, you know, speaking of incoming enemies, we've got an enemy Mogami. And yeah, you notice my AA? I noticed my AA accidentally turned it off. Didn't mean to do that. But you know what? The UI doesn't really care. So, you know, I'm going to fix that eventually. And it's just one of those things. It's not a pretty picture when you're having to press this all the time and cover your screen. But we're able to take out the enemy, seemingly. And my team still has well-established routes on B point. So this is looking pretty good. We've got a pretty clear advantage, as long as our team doesn't throw this away. And do you know how they can throw this away? By doing exactly what they're doing right now. Why are they attacking into a armored position for the enemy? There's like 3, 4, 5 enemy ships that are all grouped up around this little island area. They've got AA, so the friendly aircraft carrier, if he was alive, can't possibly contribute. I don't know that this is looking very good, and I can't do anything to help out at this precise moment. I dragged myself away from combat, let's be real. I was not willing to give up more health from my ship. I needed to keep that health, in my opinion. Otherwise, there's no chance. absolutely no chance. But my teammates are under, concentrated attack, and I feel incredibly guilty because I've got great AA, and I'm not over there to help out. I was trying to help other people on other flanks who are no longer with us. But we are almost in range to engage these ships. We still see enemies firing on cooldown, so at least we're spotting them for our teammates. And we've got a nice little enemy. This, I think it's a North Carolina. He's about 50% life. There's also a New Mexico. Both of these ships are easily in range. Both of them will take full damage, especially that New Mexico. He's kind of stationary, but they're going after a friendly Japanese cruiser, and it's not looking very good because he's out in the open against 3 ships. I don't know why he's out in the open against 3 ships. I could tell you it wasn't going to work out, but he's no longer with us, so yeah, we've got to make stuff happen. And we got to make stuff happen at a faster rate because it's just going really poorly right now. They've got superior spotting, too. Having an aircraft carrier versus not having one is night and day difference. Their entire enemy team can, literally see all of mine, whereas my team can't return fire with half of them. And once again, we lose another friendly, as predicted, and they are still attacking. This enemy Scharnhorst is the first real enemy that may be coming out to play. And, the Scharnhorst has 283mm guns on 3 gun turrets. And what he can do, and man, I got kind of fortunate there. I was a little too broad for my britches. But what he can do is he can pin and citadel me. But if I angle, I can have a pretty effective mitigation tool. He has to basically hard switch to high explosive if I refuse to give him an armor-piercing angle. And I'm going to try and do just that. And obviously, we're going to burn this guy to the ground. We have more than enough penetration to do full damage to every corner of a ship. 2 fires so far, 1 on the bow, 1 on the superstructure. I'm looking for a 3rd, maybe a 4th, maybe a 5th. I know there's not 5th, but I would love for this guy to be already dead because I need every health. And right there, perfect example. My ship can generate enough armor at angle where the AP will ricochet and bounce off. His only option is high explosive against a skillful player. And yep, once again, he's still loading it, and once again, I'm going to angle as harsh as I can. Once again, we mitigate pretty much 98% of the damage. I think he did like 1,000 damage. I'll accept that. I did want my gun, though. I need to win this engagement, and I need to win it right now. This is ridiculous. It's taking too long for me to kill this guy. And once again, angle incoming. Once again, we mitigate all the damage. He has to switch to high explosive. That's the only option for him, and he's stubborn. That's okay. Be stubborn. I'll just burn you down into your stubborn abyss. And he is, I can just see the frustration in the way he's sailing. He probably feels like, what is this? How is he doing so much damage and I'm doing nothing? Well, I'm using high explosive and you're not. And you won't be using it for the rest of the game because you're dead. So, once again, I'm out in the open, super far away because I had to deal with an enemy. I'm going to try and sail back. Looks like friendlies were able to root out some of the enemy, though, that was north of B. And in doing so, there might be some enemies coming this way. And I was doing a quick check on my fire chance. You know what? I didn't really notice not having Demolition Expert, and friendly Fuso floods out. There goes another battleship that we need. I just don't know how we're going to win this with an aircraft carrier and so many enemy ships left. I mean, I'm going to have to deal with fighting the aircraft carrier straight on, and oh, I wish I had the gun velocity. Give me something good to engage that ship that's like 3,000-4,000 life. This is going to be a really difficult situation. I expect that the enemy is probably going to sail towards B, and they also want to deal with Colorado. That's how they win the game. They also win the game if they kill me. But I think that the enemy aircraft carrier is intimidated by my AA, and he doesn't have any interest in keeping me spotted, because in order to keep me spotted, he's going to take damage. And if he takes damage at this stage, his squadrons are done. There's nothing. And, ooh, hello there, Mr. Nagato. You're pretty low, my friend. 4,000 or so, I would like to assist you to the next game, because it seems that you are done with this one, hopefully. Get a nice little fire on him. He's going to instantly have to put it out. Got a nice little superstructure shot, and the Colorado finishes him off. And you know what? I'm totally cool with that. However, there's an enemy ship capturing B point. And we are spotted for the enemy. So that's not the best thing ever. I ultimately decide, okay, let's use radar. There's no DDs. Maybe I can catch him on the corner. Maybe I can spot him for my team. Maybe I can disrupt it. And that's exactly what we did. However, I could disrupt it further by either sailing right or left. Now, if I sail right, I'm sailing towards the enemy. I have no idea exactly how many there are. There could literally be 2 ships right behind the Cleveland, just outside of radar. So that proposition is probably dangerous. The other one is to sail on the west side and have a mitigated disengage position, angle the armor back, and sail south while having my guns facing this Cleveland that's just north of my position. And I ultimately decide, okay, let's do this. We're going to use Hydro. Maybe we can spot him. Maybe the Colorado can fire on his position. Obviously, the enemy aircraft carrier is going against Colorado on cooldown, and I just don't want the enemy to capture B. There's still plenty of time for them to isolate and destroy the Colorado. Now, the enemy is using radar, and he's also using Hydro, so kind of inefficient. This is a huge mistake right here, showing too much side, and we're going to get punished for it. Absolutely punished for it. Should not have done that, but I do switch to armor piercing. I angle back, and now he can't do any damage. So in response, he also angles. I switch back to high explosive. I use my defensive fire because I have to kill this. I'm too low not to. But keeping good angle, locating the shells appropriately, we're able to take out the enemy, and we're shooting down a ton of aircraft. Now, I wasn't set on fire, and if I am set on fire, I'm absolutely going to be using, and that's a cute little trick, aircraft carrier. That doesn't mean anything to me with this build, but it's nice that you tried. But yeah, I can't afford to take any more damage. I don't have any heals. I don't have anything. I have to mitigate all the incoming attacks, and oh, I see why the enemy aircraft carrier is so interested in us. He's right there. Now, if you've never had the pleasure to fire on an aircraft carrier, you wouldn't know how freaking tanky these suckers are. Oh, and we dodge out of the way of that one. I'm going to try and put that guy down right now, because if I don't put him down, he's not going down. I'm going to go down before he goes down. He's so tanky, and oh, here comes some dive bombs. Great. Have priority sector facing the enemy, of course. Also, you just want to kill him. High explosive works just fine. I don't really want to deal with anything else. And yep, Kraken unleashed. The dive bomber cannot get the drop off in time, and we won that game. And that build was juicy and tasty. It was exactly what I was looking to do. I was looking to try and make my build a little bit more effective without sacrificing too much. And 11 fires, I don't think we sacrificed too much. 5 kills, 113,000 damage done, Kraken unleashed, base capture, 19 aircraft shot down. Enemy Mogami, though, carried really hard for his team, just not hard enough. And you know what? It was fun. It was a fun back and forth because the enemy team actually understood how to play, and honestly, my team didn't understand as much as it should have, but, you know, we won the game, and we prevailed. And, oh, it's great to prevail in the Cleveland. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to click the links. We've got most recent and most relevant video to your pleasure. If you like to check out more, I make World of Warships content daily on this channel, also streaming at twitch.tv/notser. Please click the N to subscribe. Thank you, hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.